Oh, sweatshirt's my swag. It could be 90 degrees. I'm going to wear that sweatshirt.
Minutes after we're done. Just obviously with Curtis Samuel, I'm wondering what you thought of bringing Curtis in and what we think he can bring to the offense. And you guys as a receiver group, what you might need to do or who might need to step up if he does not play on Sunday.
Yeah, obviously bringing him here was another piece that we felt like we could add to our group that was dynamic, a guy who could take the ball out the backfield, who can stretch the ball vertically, stretch the field vertically, and could just make things happen when the ball's in his hand, another playmaker for our offense. Obviously, he's been a little banged up, but, he's trying to work his way back. And I guess the unique part about it is we've got some young guys who've been able to get some reps while he's been out, and they've developed really well. And we have confidence in those guys if Curtis can't go on Sunday, but he's in the game plan. So we're just going to have to see what happens from there.
Your work first, in the NFL are kind of coming up, your footwork was kind of compared to Keenan Allen. I was just wondering if you guys have a connection or what you thought of that comparison and if you studied him at all or anything like that.
Oh, that was that's my first time hearing that. That's a compliment, I would say, because he's known as one of the best route runners in the league, at least in my opinion. I think what he does a really good job of is he's patient, but he's still dictating at the same time, which is kind of tough for sometimes receivers because that clock in your head is going off like, I got to get into my route, I got to do this. But everything he does is very deliberate, has a purpose. So I really respect the way he runs routes and plays the game. He catches 100 balls a year, it seems like all the time. So, to be compared to a guy like that is pretty cool. But that's kind of what all I really got to say about that one.
You were named a captain at the end of last year. Retaining it today, what does that mean to you, and has your life changed since getting the C?
So, I'm very blessed and fortunate to be named a captain last year and again this year. That's one of the number one things that I take pride in as a player, as a person. I think that speaks to the type of character you have, the type of leadership and the type of player you are when you have your peers who are with you every single day, watch you work, watch you grind and perform, and they select you to be one of their leaders. And that's something I've kind of grown into more and more. I was fortunate enough to be a captain in college and now in the NFL. And, I'm still continuing to grow. I'm still continuing to learn. And I think my definition of a leader in my mind is just somebody you would want to follow, somebody who does things right, even when it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. When those days are tough, those are the guys who help pull other guys along. They don't not only lead by example, which is kind of a guy I was always lead by example. I'm a do right. Be where I need to be. But I've kind of developed more of a vocal leadership style over my last few years of just being somebody who you could depend on to make sure that the standards being upheld from what the coaching staff is trying to present to us to down to the players, just making sure we're coming out with the right intensity, the right mind frame each and every week, and just encouraging guys as well. To let them know that you're right there with them and you support them, and we're in this together.
How can you be patient and dictate at the same time as a receiver, and how much do you think about that?
I think about it from time to time. I think it definitely depends on the type of routes that you're running. Maybe if you have a slant, I would say, and you got a guy who's playing outside leverage, you may sell that go route a little bit with a little bit of patience at the line, maybe a hesitation release to make him think, oh, shoot, I'm about to, set them up to go deep, but then you're actually trying to run the slant and get underneath them. So I think you're dictating by the approach that you take at the line, where you may sell that hesitation go route, but then you're running that slant at the end of the day. What you can't do is if you're in a press situation, some guys think, I got to try to get inside now. It's like, no. Most DBs' worst fear is to get beat deep. So if you could sell that, it opens up a lot of the things that are underneath. So that's just one example I like to think of where you're being patient, but at the same time you're dictating. You have a plan going up there, what you're trying to execute.
How have you developed that, that balance, I guess, as a pro, or did that start in college? How did that start, and where do you feel like you're at now?
I think that's developed. I think that's something that's continuous. You get a better feel of, the more reps you get in the games, the more different corners that you see over the course of a season. Certain techniques that you may have in your arsenal may not work against all the corners that you face. So it really is important to be really locked in on your film study of your opponent to know which tools in your toolbox that you're going to be able to use this week against certain guys, and but also being able to adjust on the fly, because I've been in the games where a guy's showing certain techniques and tendencies, and you get out there and he shows something different. You know what I mean? So you got to be able to adjust on the fly, and I think I've tried to do a good job of adjusting, but also going in with a confident plan, going in confident on Sundays, knowing what my job is and how I want to get that job done, which is something I've continued to try to focus on, and just being ready to adjust on the fly is something that I felt like I've improved on too. Mm-hmm.
Out of curiosity, who is the toughest corner you faced so far?
The toughest corner I faced? I faced a lot of tough ones. I like Jair Alexander a lot. He's tough. Tre'Davious White, I've gone against my rookie year. Darius Slay, obviously, people know about that matchup that we've had. I think because I've faced him so much, it gets a little tougher because, I've seen him probably 3 or 4 times in 2 years. So a guy like that who's been around for so long, you got to mix it up. You got to continue to try to keep him on his toes, continue to watch film over not just the opponents that he's playing, the weeks prior, but years in the past. You got to be able to try to find that little edge that could help you on Sunday. So I've been, kind of being a guy who's seen as the number 1 receiver, going to get the top guys each and every week. I can't really think of one that's like, they're all tough, And if you don't come ready to play, then you'll be embarrassed on Sunday. So I try not to do that.
I've seen it on the sideline during some practices. You get really hyped when the rookies especially make some big plays. What have you seen out of Diami and Dax Milne?
Yeah, they don't really play like rookies. They'll have some mistakes here and there, which those are growing pains. But both of them I call them they're kind of like silent assassins. Like, they don't really talk too much. They're not really as loud as I am on the sidelines or anything like that. But they go in and they do their job and they make plays. And for 2 young guys to come in here and do that at such an early time in their careers where we haven't even played any games, that builds confidence in our group, that builds confidence in our coaches, and that builds confidence in their teammates if they have the opportunity to go into the game, that they're going to make the play when it comes to them. And I have nothing but trust in those 2 guys that, if they're ready to play and they have the opportunity to play, they're going to be in there and do a good job. And that's not from what they've told me. It's from what they've showed me throughout this whole off season. And that's something that I can tell they really take initiative and wanting to be correct and being precise. And that's what's really going to help you develop as a receiver in this league, especially when you start going against different competition, when you get more and more film out on you. You got to be able to adjust and continually improve and be consistent. I think that's the biggest thing as a young receiver. You don't want to have too many letdowns, but also understand it's going to be a growing process. I remember my rookie year, that's kind of my focus. You just want to be able to prove yourself to your teammates and be consistent. And I think those 2 guys have done a really good job. We're fortunate enough to have them.
What's up, Terry? Over the last couple of years, this team has been building and building. Mm-hmm. As a captain, and you see this locker room and you see these guys, what is this team's identity? What's the DNA right now as you go forward here in 2021? I
like that question. I think we're a team that's still hungry. If you walk in that building, you wouldn't necessarily think that we won the division last year. I know that was something that was obviously big for us to help us get into the playoffs, but we're a team that's hungry and understanding that we can't hang our hat on what we did last year. And I think that's probably the last time I'll even mention us going to the playoffs, because this is such a different team than it was last year. Sure, we have a lot of our core guys back, but we have a lot of new faces as well. And Coach Rivera's really kind of drove home to us that we can't feel like we're going to start where we ended last year. The momentum that we gained over the course of the season, it starts all over in the NFL, and each season is different. And I feel like that's the approach that we're taking. But I think one of the biggest things that I noticed that was such an improvement for us is just we're consistently stacking those days of practice, and we're attacking each other. Defense wants to win, offense wants to win, but we're each getting each other better. And now we're preparing for an opponent, so it's like we got to put those differences aside and focus on the game plan ahead. And I think, obviously we want to come out and start fast. I feel like, we had some ups and downs of that last year, but we want to start fast and finish strong in the second half. And I feel like if we could do that, then we'll put ourselves in good position to win football games.
Off topic, but you're always so insightful. This weekend's very emotional for a lot of people because this is the 20th anniversary the September 11th attacks. I
Right.
think you were 4 or 5 years old when it happened. But now 20 years later, and being in this city where the Pentagon's right in your backyard,
Right.
the emotions for you and your teammates this weekend, knowing how meaningful and important this is for our country.
Yeah, this is a very big milestone for our country, especially all the things that we continually are going through each and every day, fighting terrorism and the tough outside sources we are facing as a country. I think it's very important that we remember the people who lost their lives, the families that are still affected to this day by those tragic events on September 11th. And I think we just got to continue to, keep them in our hearts. But I think the best way we do that is we just continue to try to help each other and love each other and support each other. I think if we could get more of that in this country, then I think we can make some steps forward to changes that we're all trying to see in different aspects. So, this is going to be an emotional weekend for a lot of people, and I just want to make sure that everybody is conscious of that and respectful of that. And, hopefully, I know it won't change anything, but maybe they could, see us this Sunday and maybe, find some joy. But, we also understand that won't bring back the lives that were lost. But, we're very fortunate for the men and women who sacrificed their lives on that day to try to save those that they could, and that doesn't go unnoticed.
All right, Terry. Sorry.
What's up?
Back to football. When you talk about getting the tools in your toolbox when you're watching guys. How many games do you typically go back and watch of a guy before you feel like you have a good read on what you need to do against him?
Yeah, I think Coach Drew does a good job of breaking down the film in our and on our iPad. So it's really consolidated on where we go find what they do on third down, what they do in man situations, what this corner does against press, bail, off. So I think he does a good job of really giving us a base game plan at the beginning of the week. So I'll start there, and then I'll go through and I'll watch a full game. I may watch one receiver that I respect out of the league. I may watch how that corner did against that receiver. I'll watch that whole game, every rep against them, and it'll kind of give me an idea of how he likes to play that number one receiver, especially if he has a similar skill set as myself. That's kind of the approach I take, and then I start breaking it down clip by clip. What is, all right, I'm going to slow down because I'm not going to try to give away my tips, but I just try to do a good job of, just studying any tendencies that I can find. And just try to use those to my advantage, and then try to take those to the practice field and try to put that on the field against our scout team.
And you worked a lot this offseason on your releases, as you said. How much did you hold back in those preseason games? Because sometimes it looked like you were doing different things off the line here versus in a game.
I think practice and games, you have to kind of adjust on the fly. I remember, I wasn't using a certain release against the Bengals because of the way that corner was playing me. So, like I said, it's kind of just different tools you use for different situations, but I think they all have to be ready at any time and moment. Some corners like to play really strong at the line where they're not moving, so you have to use a certain release. You got to be fast off the line. Some guys may give you more ground, which I kind of call like a catch technique. He's waiting for you to come off the line and do your move. So if you're dancing too much at the line against those guys, they're just going to cut you off, and it's going to be a frustrating day for you. So I think really gaining ground and trying to dictate to that cornerback, trying to sell vertical is the best thing I try to do week in, week out.
I had one more. You were at Ohio State with Joey Bosa, correct?
Yeah.
So you were there with, obviously, he and Chase.
Right.
What was their impact? And they're different players, but what was their impact like just there, and just, do you see similarities between the two? Yeah.
So it was Joey, then Nick and Chase, and then Chase. So, Joey, I think, man, he's such a great player. He's quiet, but you know where he is on the field at all times, and if you don't, then you're going to find out real quick. I just remember him being a guy who practiced really, really hard. Like, every rep was a game rep to him. He practiced with an intensity to that he was going to use these same moves in the game. And when you got to the game, you saw what he did. It's because of the way he prepared and the way he practiced. And I think his motor is so high. He plays the run as hard as he plays the pass. And then he has so many pass rush moves. He has, like, counter moves for when he's, maybe losing that rep. And I think when you have that type of motor, you see that with his brother Nick, and you see that with you see that with Chase. The type of motor, the type of skill set they have, and the skills that they learned under Coach Johnson at Ohio State really helped them become great college players and now great pros. But I think all three of them, especially Joey, where I think where it starts is they have a very business-like approach. They don't say too much, but you know, they're going to come to play every single snap. So, yeah.
Time for 3 more.
Terry, you've gone through. This is going to be your third week one, so that part isn't new. But I don't know if it's like the first day at school. But does the first week does it feel different than the other games because it is everything's starting over?
I mean, I think it's just really exciting to get out there and play a full game. You know, preseason you only play a certain amount, but now playing a full game, get your mind and your body right for a full 4-quarter game in the NFL. I mean, I think that's what you have to obviously focus on, making sure you're not only treating your body right throughout the week, but treating your mind right, studying your film, making sure you're going in confident. I think that's the best thing I try to do as a player is making sure my body's feeling good, and then making sure mentally I'm confident going into this game. I'm confident in the game plan. I'm confident in what my opponent's trying to do, so I can try to execute. So, you know, you never know what you're going to get out of week one. You really don't. I think that's what I've learned over the first 2 weeks. But I think if we could come out fast and we can try to execute on third down and defense does their thing, special teams wins the field position battle, then we're going to be right in the game. But, you know, the first thing I think about week one is catching the ball, protecting the ball, and tackling. I mean, those 3 things are some of the things that may not be as much show up in the preseason, but in that first game it's really going to show. So I think we've done a really good job of making sure that we're keying in on those 3 things, and, you know, we just got to put it on the field on Sunday.
Still doing okay in the sweatshirt there?
Yeah, man, I'm good.
How have you seen Scott Turner kind of grow now that it's his year 2? Ron says he has a little extra swagger about him. What is your opinion on him?
Yeah, Coach Turner, I think he's really gotten more comfortable with the personnel that we had. I think we've done a good job of going out and getting other personnel that can help us. And I think he has confidence in all of our playmakers to make plays. Like, it's not just scripted, you know, for one player. It's not just scripted for a certain group of wide receiver, tight end, whatever. I think we do a good job of really just spreading the defense out and trying to put pressure on them vertically, horizontally, running the ball, play action, all that. I think his arsenal of plays that he has definitely grown more and more. I think it's always been there, but the more confidence you get in your personnel, obviously Fitz being a veteran quarterback and he can handle a lot of that stuff helps as well. So I think the playbook is opened up for us this year, and it's very exciting. And I'm excited to see what we do, but I think it just really comes down to just how we're practicing right now. We got to make sure that stuff looks good, so he gives him the confidence so he can call those things. So yeah, I think it's cool to see Coach Turner continue to try to develop and give us counters off of the splits and the releases that we already have, so defenses can't get too comfortable.
Last one.
Terry, you talked a little bit about
Where you at? Oh,
hi, Terry.
Hey, what's up?
No, you're good. You talked about matchups and how much harder it is when you've seen somebody consistently to be able to beat somebody like that. I guess I'm kind of curious. With Chase, he's had these battles with Rashawn Slater, who you guys are going to see left tackle for the Chargers. How do you eventually best somebody who has had success against you? What can you do in a situation like that, since you've kind of spoken to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can find a weakness, if you can find an advantage, then you have to try to exploit that. You have to try to execute on those weaknesses that you may find in your opponent. But at the same time, we're all good. You know, it's good on good in the NFL. I think the differences that you may find in a defensive and offensive lineman's matchup with Chase, you got a guy who's as good as he is on that opposite side. I think that extra strain or that extra pass rush move at the end may get you home. You may not think you're going to get home, but that last little dip under that arm, you know, that could really get you home. I think the margin of error is just so minimal at this level. And speaking for myself, I think I understand I have to make contested catches sometimes. A lot of times you're going to have a guy right on your back or grabbing on you. You can't be like, you can't be looking for the flag. You can't be looking for excuses. You got to come down with those plays. You got to make those plays. I think that's what separates guys. And once you start getting that confidence over the course of the game, then it seems like you start to get into a rhythm, and then, you know, things kind of start going your way. But you also got to understand that guy's going to make plays too.
If I may ask you, quickly, when you when you meet somebody who does challenge you in that way,
right.
you find that your moves are not beating them for whatever.
Right.
One, what is your initial reaction to it?
Mm-hmm.
And two, what does it show you, like when you take a step back and you're like, okay, I didn't win that necessarily. What do you take away from that experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've gone into some games where I've tried to do certain things and it hasn't quite worked, but I think you have to come over to the sideline and not get too low on yourself. You can't. I've really grown over my course of my football career is not dwelling on old plays, good or bad, just moving on to the next play. That play is the most important play, and that really helps you stay in the moment. It helps you focus on what the task at hand is, because if I'm thinking about what I did on that last play, then this next play may be bad. So I think when you make good moves and you get open, you're obviously you celebrate those, but you got to come back with the next mindset and to be able to adjust. I know a lot of these veteran corners and probably just veteran players as a whole, you're not going to beat them on the same moves over and over the course of the game. So I think it's really using the mental part of the game as well to your advantage. No problem. Good to see y'all.